the unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it. We can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. I wonder if I will ever not be nervous sitting in this chair. We just got to trust ourselves that it's in there, you know? So I have something fun and interesting to talk about today. I was watching YouTube, which is something I do to relax sometimes, and it knows that I like to watch science things. So, you know, sometimes it'll say, oh, you should watch this. And the little picture was of a bunch of robots, you know, humanoid robots. And I thought, no way. But, you know, it was a reputable news organization. So I thought, okay. So I clicked on it and I watched it. And it was a company that is building humanoid robots to be like servants or maids or however you would want to say it, in a house, you know, do the laundry and stuff like that. And so it just kind of really shocked me. I hadn't caught wind that was in process, so that's the world we're moving towards. Was a little bit of a shock to me. And it featured an interview with one of the leaders in the company. And he said at one point, he said, robots can do the things I hate. I don't want to do laundry. I don't want to do dishes. I don't want to clean up the house. And I thought, uh-oh. So the man's response, coupled with these images of the robots doing chores, immediately made my mind think of the Sorcerer's Apprentice, if you all are familiar with that. And for anyone who's not familiar with that, I looked it up because I'm familiar with the original, well, not the original, but the Disney short film, which I'll get to. But the original is a ballad by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and the German title is Der Zauberlehrling. It was written in 1797, which is, I thought, just was incredible because it just goes to show how timeless some of these ideas are. That ballad inspired in the orchestral piece by French composer Paul Dukas in 1897. I may not be pronouncing that last name correctly, but which then inspired the Disney animation. The film Fantasia in 1940 has various animated segments set to various orchestra music, you know, famous orchestra music. And you can find it on YouTube. And if you haven't ever seen the Disney version of The Sorcerer's Apprentice, it's really nice. And so a quick recap, which I'll read because I thought it was important enough to know what I was going to say as a recap rather than just hear me ramble for a minute. So in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, a young apprentice tired from hauling buckets of water for his teacher when left alone casts a spell to animate a broom to do his water-carrying chores for him. Quite pleased with himself, the apprentice goes off to daydream about how awesome he is, eventually falling asleep. Upon waking, suddenly he finds the workshop flooded because the automaton broom doesn't know how to stop. Realizing that he, the apprentice, doesn't know how to make the broom stop either, he resorts to chopping it into 1,000 pieces with an axe. However, because it was not actually a stopping spell that ended the broom worker, The power of the magic transforms the 1,000 pieces into 1,000 broom workers. This army of brooms then proceeds to continue to haul water, further flooding the workshop. Luckily for the apprentice, the master sorcerer eventually catches on that something is amiss and comes to investigate the workshop. Finding things in chaos, he casts the necessary stopping spell and magically clears the workshop of water. The apprentice bashfully picks up the buckets, indicating he's ready to try again and do the work himself. So, to quote another of my favorite mythical, heroes, with great power comes great responsibility. So let me first make a disclaimer that I definitely am not meaning to slight this company or this person who is being interviewed in any way. It's a very human thing to not want to do, the laundry. Or clean the house or whatever. This is just what technology is. Technology is human beings. We're excellent tool builders, and we make tools that make our lives easier. And I also do not think that technology is evil. I love technology, and am in many ways excited about what the world is doing with technology. We just have to remember that it's just a tool, right? Technology is just a tool. Like fire. Fire can cook, it can heat, and it can destroy. It depends on our responsible use of the tool, how we use it. And yet technology is not going to solve our fundamental question. There's a great book by the Dalai Lama called Essence of the Heart Sutra, which is the Heart Sutra and his commentary about it, which is great. If you haven't ever read it, I highly recommend it. And the first part of that book is several chapters of him not just talking about the Heart Sutra, but about our practice. And it's very, very helpful. And in that first section, before he even gets to the actual lines of the Heart Sutra, there's a point where he says, happiness cannot be achieved through material conditions alone. It is a delusion to think that robots, computers, self-driving cars, cancer-curing medicines will solve all our problems and deliver to us true happiness. They will make life much more comfortable. But humans seem to have a problem conflating comfort with happiness. And obviously, comfort does bring happiness. If you're comfortable, then you're very likely to be happy. But comfort does not necessarily equal happiness. You could be quite comfortable and unhappy. So the word that I was thinking of was purpose. What's our purpose in life, rather than this blind search for happiness. And the key there is the attitude of mind. What is our purpose? Is it comfort? Is it happiness? Buddha nature, the eternal? How we approach our daily life is most important. If we are always dreaming about the next thing, never with what we are doing now, not only will we do a poor job, but we will miss the Buddha. We will miss that purpose that we are trying to harmonize with in life, which brings that true happiness or that deeper joy or contentment. in the story, the apprentice didn't value the work that he had been given to do. And so he sought a quick fix. He wasn't really with the work. He wasn't with the task. He didn't have any value to him. He thought, I'm just doing this to get to something else, to get to, power or whatever. And it's that attitude of mind that we cultivate in daily life, being with reality, being with the work that we do and finding value in all that we do, which has this way of allowing Buddha nature and the practice to really open up to us, or we open up to it, right? Buddha nature is always right here. It's always right here in front of us. We just don't recognize it. It's not something separate. It's not something that we're lacking. It's not something that we have to get. We already have it. It's right here. We just don't recognize it. Our practice of doing work with an attitude of mind of gratitude and love and generosity helps us deepen our relationship with reality and recognize the Buddha. So, again, the attitude of the apprentice is trying to get out of or away from any work or responsibility. And we have to examine ourselves and change our attitude to see that all work has value and that all work is worthy of our love and attention. And I thought it was ironic in the Sorcerer's Apprentice that the task he's doing is carrying water, because in classic Zen, the classic Zen phrase for work is to chop wood and carry water. It's kind of an honored task. And why is that? And as I understand it, it's because, chopping wood and carrying water, or things that are very simple like that, don't engage the discriminatory mind. We can be, they do. You have to walk and you have to know what a bucket is and pick it up. But it doesn't engage the discriminatory mind as much as some other things, like working in the bursar's office. You're crunching numbers. You have to make very complex decisions, maintenance. You could be fixing something that is very complicated. Often that's why it's the seniors who will hold those positions where there's a lot of thinking that has to be done, and young monks are given simple tasks, chop wood, carry water, or young trainees, because what we're really learning to do is to sit still and to learn to meditate, bring that meditation into our work and daily life, which often will, in my experience, start with changing our attitude towards the very work that we're doing. Maybe we think, this doesn't matter, this could be more efficient, why are we doing it this way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have all these ideas and opinions, but I think how I have personally changed over the years in my practice, a lot of it is just my attitude changing towards my interaction with reality and the work that I do every day, whether that's in the kitchen or in extern sacristy or wherever it is that I'm working. And Reverend Master Jiyu called this sanctifying the mundane. So we often think that our daily life is mundane, annoyingly mundane, right? This is why we're trying to get away from it, trying to get away from the laundry and the cleaning of the house. And when we learn to be with that work and see its value, you're learning to see the Buddha nature in that work. We start our days off with formal meditation. Then we get up off of our cushions or our chairs or whatever, and we come into the hall, and then we do morning service, okay? Which is not quite running around and chopping the vegetables and stacking the wood, right? But we are moving, okay? So it's like this next step, right? From sitting still, literally, to moving and chanting, and, then we go out and we light the fires and we chop the vegetables, we cook the food, and we crunch the numbers and pay the bills. We are bringing our sitting place with us into each part of the day, okay? We don't leave the cushion in the hall just because we're getting up and we're not in there anymore. We want to bring the meditation and the practice into our daily life with us. Again, because this whole process, this practice, is trying to help us open up to not our agenda of just finishing this task so I can go do something else, but to be with this task as this is what matters. Like, this is the whole universe right here, right now, right? This carrot is the whole universe. As Dogen says in the Tenzo Kyokun, to see the Buddha in a head of cabbage, right? This is the whole universe right here, this head of cabbage that I'm working on. So, as we continue forward into this strange sci-fi world that we're living through, we don't have to be afraid of the technology. We do have to have our priorities straight. We have to not see the tools as something that will get me away from this thing that I find so distasteful, right? We could use probably 10 robots stacking wood. So there's a use for the tools, okay? There's a use case for the tools. And we have to have our right attitude of mind when we use them. So those are my thoughts on that. Thank you. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha.